The Mages Guild in Oblivion is amazing compared to the College of Winterhold in Skyrim. In the 5th game, you're made the Archmage within the hour, whereas in Oblivion, the guild retains some authenticity by making you work to progress. There aren't just more missions, but quests that fit in with the ethos of the guild. There are lots of other reasons as well, but this video isn't meant to focus on the positives. I want to take a lore-centric perspective and evaluate whether or not you should join Oblivion's Mages Guild. The Mages Guild professes to have one central goal: to teach anyone who is talented enough. However, the guild is more than an educational institution. Intertwined with the imperial government, it's influenced by political, moral, and magical issues from inside and outside the organisation. Disagreements often manifest themselves in the elections for the Archmage. In Oblivion, for instance, Hannibal Traven was elected on a controversial mandate. He promised to blanket ban the practice of necromancy, a position so extreme that half the senior council resigned on his assumption of the office. Indeed, I would argue that Hannibal Traven is possibly the worst Archmage in the Elder Scrolls. Necromancy is definitely problematic, but it isn't without its uses. Opponents of the practice cite the manipulation of souls, the disturbance of the recently dead, and the unnaturalness as key issues. However, whilst it might be true that you have some sadistic mages who take it too far, in reality the manipulation of souls is small scale, temporary, and often not performed on humans. Furthermore, it isn't done for no reason. Sanctioned necromancers raise the dead to research the substance of souls or in order to get information on the recently deceased, say if they were murdered. In effect, Hannibal Traven takes an incredibly simplistic view on the practice, failing to take account of its good aspects. This might not seem like a very important issue, but if you put this in context, it's arguable that this was the policy that enabled Mannimarco to return. Mannimarco is an age-old necromancer of immense power, a lich. His magical ability rivals that of the gods. However, for him to pose a real threat, he needed supporters. So when Hannibal Traven banned necromancy, expelling hundreds of mages from the guild, they ran into the open arms of Mannimarco. Where necromancy had once been a moderate practice, the Archmage facilitated its descent into immorality by pushing its mages to the tutelage of the evilest practitioner. In other words, Traven created the problem that eventually kills him. He's responsible for the rise of a cult that almost brings the country to its knees, and that definitely caused the collapse of the guild itself. There are differing opinions as to whether Traven was actually aiming for this outcome all along. Some have theorised that he was bribed by Mannimarco to ban necromancy, knowing that it would strengthen his position. I don't think this is true for two reasons. Firstly, Traven is sincere in his ethical opposition. I'm not sure if he had a bad experience with the practice when he was younger, but I don't think anyone can doubt his sincerity. Secondly, he sacrificed himself to defeat Mannimarco by investing his power in a gem that protects the player from the King of Worms when you come to confront him. Unless he did this out of cowardice, knowing he would be prosecuted for his crimes in the future, I take this as further proof that he was genuine in his opposition. So Traven was, in my opinion, more misguided than evil. He genuinely believed his actions were just, and he was unable to foresee the awful consequences they would bring. There are other reasons why the Mages Guild appears to be an incompetent organisation in Oblivion. Perhaps the most prominent is its inaction during the Oblivion crisis. I understand that from a gameplay perspective, it would have been taxing to have added in loads of mages during the fight in the Imperial City or Bruma. I mean, the epic final battle involves like 14 people. However, from a lore perspective, the complete absence of any mages in the fight against Mehrunes Dagon is damning. There's no evidence that they engage in research to help close the gates, and no mages use their talents to help defeat the Daedra. Furthermore, there's the issue of the specialisation of the regional guild halls. The 6 schools of magic are split between these halls. This does make sense to an extent. Having all the practitioners of a school of magic together would probably aid in their research. However, it's also a massive pain in the arse. In order to learn spells from a school, you have to travel to that specific location, which is hundreds of miles away from the next hall. So if you're a mage who's starting out and just learning magic, you're going to have to travel the whole breadth of the country to learn each school of magic. And equally, you would have thought that an interdisciplinary approach would be more conducive to good research and learning, rather than splitting them all up. This video is obviously not gameplay centered. Realistically, you would join the Mages Guild because of the quests, perks, and gameplay mechanics it offers. But from a lore point of view, I hope this video has highlighted the problems with the guild, the Archmage in particular. In the final analysis, it was Hannibal Traven who caused the downfall of the Mages Guild. His banning of necromancy weakened the guild, whilst the lack of intervention in the Oblivion Crisis led to its unpopularity and disbandment. There is quite frankly no other man to blame. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more, then feel free to subscribe. Anyway, thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.